Amazon CEO Andy Jassy recently delivered a message that sent tremors across the business world. The e-commerce giant is facing enormous financial strain. In response to the newly introduced tariffs by the freshly inaugurated U.S. President Donald Trump, Amazon is preparing to shut down several of its factories within the United States and relocate operations overseas. This decision comes amid a rapidly escalating trade conflict, triggered by sweeping protectionist policies aimed at penalizing foreign trade partners. However, the ripple effects have boomeranged back to the heart of American enterprise, squeezing companies like Amazon into a financially perilous position. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. Jassy's revelation doesn't just mark a pivotal shift for Amazon. It signals a broader, more systemic problem that is beginning to take root across the American economy. The tariff strategy, designed to boost domestic industry by making imported goods more expensive, has triggered retaliatory tariffs from trade partners. These countermeasures have driven up the costs of American exports, making them less competitive abroad. Simultaneously, the cost of importing essential goods into the United States has also surged, pushing operational expenses for businesses through the roof. Amazon, a company that thrives on its vast global supply chain and intricate logistics network, has found itself squeezed from both ends. The price of sourcing goods and components from international suppliers has soared, even as its ability to sell affordably to international markets has diminished. This dual pressure has upended Amazon's carefully balanced economic model. What once operated on razor-thin margins now teeters on the edge of unsustainability. The United States has long prided itself on being the beating heart of innovation and enterprise, and Amazon has been a crown jewel in that legacy. Its decision to begin shutting down domestic factories is not just a reflection of one company's hardship. It is a signal that the country's broader economic ecosystem is under severe strain. The company's internal financial reports, according to sources familiar with the matter, paint a dire picture. Manufacturing costs have skyrocketed, logistics expenses have ballooned, and consumer purchasing power, dampened by rising prices, is on a slow and painful decline. The strategic calculus behind Amazon's move abroad is simple but sobering. By relocating factories to countries unaffected by the tariffs, Amazon hopes to stabilize its supply chain, reduce manufacturing expenses, and regain access to affordable international markets. The new landscape, however, is anything but stable. In a world increasingly fractured by trade disputes, uncertainty reigns. New investments made abroad will not come without risks, both political and economic, and will certainly not restore equilibrium overnight. The irony is hard to ignore. The very policies that were intended to protect American jobs and factories are now pushing one of the country's largest employers to look elsewhere. The decision to move abroad is not being taken lightly, but for Amazon, the financial reality has become untenable. The costs of doing business in an environment of trade hostility have outstripped the benefits of staying domestic. Amazon's ability to maintain its competitive edge depends on flexibility and scale, qualities that are being crushed under the weight of trade restrictions and retaliatory measures. The company's U.S. operations, particularly its network of fulfillment centers and manufacturing facilities, have played a central role in its rise to dominance. These hubs have not only fueled Amazon's signature same-day and two-day delivery models, but have also become major sources of employment in dozens of states. Shutting down these centers is a drastic measure with implications that go far beyond balance sheets. Entire communities that have come to depend on Amazon's presence now face the prospect of economic destabilization. What makes this situation all the more complex is the interconnected nature of modern global commerce. Amazon doesn't just sell products, it is a marketplace, a logistics provider, a manufacturer, a media company, and a cloud computing giant. Each of these arms is now feeling the sting of the new tariffs. Retail operations have become more expensive due to increased import duties. Cloud infrastructure, which relies on hardware sourced globally, is becoming costlier to maintain. Even Prime Video, Amazon's entertainment wing, has found content production expenses rising as foreign partners become more cautious in a climate of economic tit-for-tat. The shift abroad is likely to involve more than just opening a few new factories. It will mean a reconfiguration of Amazon's entire business structure, regulatory environments, labor laws, currency fluctuations, and infrastructure considerations will all play a role in shaping this next phase. While Amazon has the technological and financial capacity to make such a move, the transition will be anything but smooth. There is the added challenge of public perception. For a company that has often been under scrutiny for its labor practices and monopolistic behavior, the optics of abandoning U.S. workers during an economic downturn could be damaging. Internally, Amazon is reported to be undergoing a major financial review. Executives are combing through division-level data, identifying where costs can be cut and how operations can be streamlined. Many of the company's ambitious projects have been put on hold. Experimental technologies, from drone delivery to cashierless stores, are being reevaluated through the lens of financial austerity. The era of aggressive expansion is giving way to one of cautious retrenchment. One of the most deeply affected areas is Amazon's domestic supply chain, with materials and components that once arrived swiftly and affordably from partners around the globe, now entangled in customs red tape and weighed down by tariffs. The company has been forced to seek alternatives. In some cases, this means sourcing from new countries. In others, it means scaling back production altogether. This realignment is already leading to delays, reduced product variety, and increasing prices for consumers. The consumer-facing side of Amazon is also under pressure. Prices across the platform have been creeping upward, a trend noticed by attentive shoppers and retail analysts alike. As cost pressures mount, Amazon can no longer absorb the difference in the way it once could. Prime membership, once the ultimate bargain, is becoming more expensive to maintain. Perks that used to define the Amazon experience may soon be reduced or restructured. As Amazon continues to grapple with the implications of these policy shifts, competitors are watching closely. Some domestic retailers, who have historically struggled to match Amazon's low prices and lightning-fast delivery, might see this as an opportunity to regain market share. However, they too are impacted by the same economic headwinds. Smaller businesses in particular may find it even harder to stay afloat in this environment. For them, the option to move operations overseas is often out of reach. They will face the brunt of the economic fallout with fewer resources and less room for error. The broader tech sector, which often takes its cues from giants like Amazon, is also facing a moment of reckoning. Supply chains that have been optimized over decades are now being disrupted, investment strategies are shifting, caution is replacing confidence. Even in Silicon Valley, long seen as a fortress of innovation and growth, executives are beginning to prepare for leaner times. The cascading consequences of this economic standoff are being felt across the labor market. Workers who once enjoyed stable employment in Amazon's sprawling distribution network now face the uncertainty of layoffs and factory closures. Unions, which have been trying to establish a stronger presence within Amazon, may find themselves with a shrinking workforce to represent. Economic mobility, already a challenge for millions of Americans, could be dealt another harsh blow as job prospects dwindle and industries contract. Financial markets have begun to reflect the seriousness of the situation. Amazon stock, a bellwether for the tech industry and often the broader economy, has shown volatility as investors digest the news. Analysts are adjusting their forecasts, not just for Amazon, but for the entire sector. Investment firms are recalibrating their models, factoring in the likelihood of prolonged trade tensions and sustained economic disruption. What's clear is that the decision to impose tariffs has set off a chain reaction that few had fully anticipated. While the political rationale behind these moves was couched in the language of national strength and economic self-reliance, the practical consequences are proving to be far more disruptive. Global trade is not a simple game of winners and losers. It is a complex web of relationships, dependencies, and shared interests. When one part of that web is tugged, the entire structure begins to shake. Amazon's retreat from its U.S. manufacturing base is not just a business decision, it's a landmark event that captures the gravity of this moment in economic history. It represents the breaking point for a model that could once absorb shocks and adapt on the fly. Now, the margins have eroded, the costs have risen, and the global economy is fragmenting into zones of uncertainty. Companies that once saw the world as an open marketplace are now being forced to redraw the map. As this transition unfolds, millions of people, employees, customers, suppliers, investors, will be caught in the churn. For Amazon, the path forward is likely to involve significant reinvention. For the broader US economy, the moment is sobering. A country that has long seen itself as the engine of global commerce is finding that engine sputtering under the weight of self-imposed barriers. There is no denying that trade policy has power. It can reshape economies, redefine alliances, and redirect the course of industries. But that power must be wielded with precision and foresight. In this case, the blunt instrument of tariffs has not delivered the revival of American manufacturing it promised. Instead, it has provoked a retreat, one that may take years to recover from. The fallout from Amazon's announcement is only just beginning to be understood. As more details emerge about which factories will be shuttered and which operations will move abroad, the full scale of the disruption will become clearer. For now, what's evident is that one of America's most iconic companies is facing a crisis not of its own making, but one imposed by the very government that once held it up as a symbol of national success. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Amazon moving abroad due to Trump's new tariffs? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.